Hello, fellow Southern Cameroonians. My name is John Akuroh. I come to you today once more, and you can see that I'm in blue because this is celebration time. You know that even within a revolution, there are moments when you stop and celebrate because we have all been in the past few days in a kind of euphoria. The euphoria that is the following the election of our new commander-in-chief, the commander-in-chief of the people of the Southern Cameroons, who, with his team, has a clear mandate to ride us to Boya the fastest possible, to restore the independence of the people of the Southern Cameroons. This euphoria is justified because this was a much expected step. And because it was a much expected step, and because the people who sat to do it did it with a clean mind, contributing each and every one their points, and then coming to a consensus, it foretells of a brighter future for this struggle ahead. That is why a good lot of people, including me, have started dreaming all over. We have started dreaming Boya. We have even started smelling it. Now, while all this is going on, we have some brethren who believe that things could have been otherwise. Some of us have had the opportunity to listen to Brother Chia Innocent, who is the Director of Communications at the Movement for the Restoration of the Independence of the Southern Cameroons, MoRISC. Brother Chia Innocent, in his video, points out that he believes that the process that brought to the helm of the struggle for the liberation of the Southern Cameroons, Commander-in-Chief Sisiku Ayuk Tabe Julius, was, according to him, not really appropriate. He feels that it will only make a lot of sense if at all this selection went through a system that they put in place, went through voting by electronic means on the social media. We listened to him try to build an analogy between the problems that the mayor of the Boya municipality, Kemapatri, is facing currently with the revelation that he never passed the GC advanced levels, but succeeded in getting admission into the University of Boya. And he measures this with the process that led to the selection of our commander-in-chief. It is true that just like some of you, I still find it difficult to understand the link, but let us just take it that he's talking here about falsehood. Now, we all recall that some time ago, our brother Innocent Chia, who is here to present his apologies for what I'm about to say, wrote an article and published on the social media how the then Secretary General of SCACUF, Mr. Tassan Wilfred, and our pioneer ambassador to the African Union, Barrister Eyambe Elias, were living very large in Nigeria, that they were each earning at least $2,500. And he did a lot of conversion in CFA and in Naira. At the end of the day, our brother Innocent Chia has adequate evidence to the effect that that information was false. And I know he's a journalist who knows that our trade is grounded on facts. But then, he hasn't found time to come here to apologize, because I recall that when I was in the first year in the Advanced School of Mass Communication, Brother Innocent Chia was in the third year. So he wouldn't doubt that in journalism, when you have it wrong, you come back to point out and apologize that I had it wrong. Anyhow, I know that he is a humble man, that he will find time to come back and apologize for that kind of misinformation. And so, it takes me therefore to saying that this analogy he tried to build with a situation befalling the mayor of Boya is still another kind of misinformation. But this kind of misinformation this time is something we call sophistry. Trying to make something that looks, seemingly convincing to sound true. The truth in this whole thing is, Brother Innocent Chia does not tell us the truth in this whole thing, that the platform that they're planning to use to elect a prime minister for the Southern Cameroons, or an interim prime minister for the Southern Cameroons, is a platform that has never been tested. He has not told us that the architect of that platform, Mr. Ngala, has within the circles of MoRISC expressed doubts over his own very creation, because he has pointed out that it has not been tested, he can't vet it, and he can't convince anyone that that platform is an acceptable platform to organize an internet election in the 21st century. I think Brother Innocent Chia also failed to tell us that even within the MoRISC steering committee, a majority of the people are now unanimous that the election of Sisiku Ayuktabe was good, that he is a unifier, and that he is a man of the situation. And that along with his team, they hold the potential to deliver, to take us to Boya. At least I had the pleasure of reading, some material published by Pa Fu Kenneth, a member of the MoRISC steering committee, in which he expressed his reservation and has distanced himself and thrown his weight behind Sisiku Ayuktabe Julius. It is the same thing in another write-up also put up by Tabenyang Echu, who has even warned that this process is simply going to create more trouble than it will resolve. He notes that we don't need this distraction at this point in time. But Tabenyang Echu also recalls and reminds all the members of the steering committee of MoRISC that Mangala, who developed this platform, has pointed out unequivocally that he is not confident that platform is good enough to be used for such an election. And so, what is going to happen if Big Brother Bohabed, whom I respect a lot, were to want to go all the way to do whatever fraud he wants to do? He's simply going to set confusion, although I know this confusion wouldn't touch us because a vast majority of the people of the southern Cameroons have identified with their leader. But what this is going to do is that it's simply going to take off from the, platform an actor like Big Brother Bohabed, who is supposed to be contributing his quota to this struggle. And mind you, our new commander-in-chief is open. He has pointed out that everyone will have to come on board. He wants everybody to bring their own quota so that we should ensure that we get to Boya the earliest possible. And now let me return to Big Brother Bohabed, whom I respect a lot. He is a venerated journalist. For those of you who were born much later after me, you wouldn't have had the pleasure to know him. For those of you who were born maybe just after me, and then from me onward, you had the occasion to listen to him use his God-given voice and the talent he acquired in the School of Journalism to thrill Cameroonians. And again, there is an aspect that may be escaping the view of people, that Big Brother Bohabed was one of the first victims of the fight for freedom. Because in 1990, and I remember on May 6, 1990, after a certain program on the national station of CLTV, Big Brother Bohabed and others had the axe fall on their heads because he stood out to say elections need to be transparent. He stood out to say every process deserves transparency. And I know Big Brother still has that feeling in his mind even now as we talk. And that is why I want to call his attention to the fact that he has forgotten that it is important for him to bring the platform he intends to use to organize elections on Sunday the 23rd of July for an interim prime minister for Southern Cameroons for us to see. People need to see the platform because that's what transparency is all about. People need to know how it's going to work. He condemned Mr. Paul Biya for always holding the election calendar so close to his chest all alone that he alone knew all the secrets. But unfortunately, this is what is about happening in the MoRISC camp. But I still believe strongly that we'll have time enough to be able to keep aside all of these differences and come back to the table. Because the differences we have are less than the unifying points that bring us together. And so those unifying points should be much stronger than the differences. Now let me go back to this whole process to remind Big Brother Bo, who says the only way he can recognize someone as commander-in-chief or as speaking on behalf of the people of the Southern Cameroons is through an election organized on the social media. Big Brother Bohabed has benefited from selections less maybe in quality than the election that took place. 1. Big Brother Bohabed, when the people of COM in the United States picked you out to be their leader, it wasn't through an election. You didn't turn it down. You accepted the office. Then it was good. You recall also that when Cameroonians at the World Bank selected you to be their leader, to be their spokesperson, to speak for them. It wasn't through an election, and you didn't turn it down. You found it okay. Again, remember that somewhere in 2006, towards the end of the year 2006, concerning MoRISC, you were also picked in same fashion, like it was the case with the COM people and at the World Bank, to steer the affairs of MoRISC as spokesman. On the 11th of February, when it was expected that elections were going to be conducted within MoRISC to put in place an executive, and they thought that it wasn't ripe enough to do it, you were still clapped into position. I mean, you didn't find anything wrong with that. So I think that it is important for you to note that there are moments when you decide that I want to be a distraction, but there are other moments when you can tell yourself, being a distraction doesn't take us anywhere. Now, you and your group are pointing out that if anyone is not elected through the platform that you have put in place, they will not be recognized by the United Nations. Let me take us down memory lane just a bit. Southern Sudan, which is the latest country that acquired independence in 2011, I wonder if they organized any election when they were still in the struggle like the people of the Southern Cameroons find themselves. That didn't happen, but they were recognized by the United Nations all the same. Kosovo, it happened in 2008. Montenegro and Serbia, that was 2006. East Timor, that was 2002. Palawa, 1994. Eritrea, 1993. Czech Republic and Slovakia, 1993. Can you tell us whether any of those countries did organize some kind of elections in transition period when they were still in a crisis, when they were still in a struggle, like it is our case? Yet, they were all recognized by the United Nations. You have quoted Resolution 1514. Yes, that resolution is there to point to our right to claim what truly belongs to us. And I think you should note that even in the case of the people of the Southern Cameroons, the United Nations doesn't doubt who we are. The United Nations doesn't doubt that on the 21st of April, in the year of our Lord 1961, they took resolution 1608 of 15, within which they voted for the independence of the people of the Southern Cameroons and slated the date for that independence for the 1st of October. I remember, oh, big brother, you also know that the then U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador Zabloisky, stated in unequivocal terms that I stand here today to congratulate the people of the Southern Cameroons on attaining self-determination. So you absolutely know that we don't need that to be able to be recognized. So I think, again, to go back to your platform, when you talk of election on social media, you're talking there by the use of the internet. And we are in an age where everything is driven by data, where you should prove the scienticity of everything you say. Now, I want to take you to statistics, and I want to invite any of you watching me to visit the website www.economywatch.com/economy-statistic/cameroon/internet- you talked about hyphen penetration and hyphen rate. You will discover that as at the 30th of June 2016, the internet penetration rate in all of Cameroon was 11%. And that is very optimistic. Now, narrow it down to Southern Cameroons, where in the past 6 months, smartphones have been confiscated because owning a smartphone is a crime. You risk being charged with, the promotion of terrorism just for owning a smartphone. You also know that a lot of people have been thrown behind bars for using those phones. So a lot of people have dumped their smartphones just to stay clear of trouble. So what rate of penetration will you have there at this point in time? So what will be the representation of those you expect to do this election? Or you simply want to have the diaspora alone select people and impose on our people back home? Big brother Bohabed, I know that you understand what I'm talking about. And I know that we're also anxious to go to Boya. I'm convinced that the time left between now and Sunday, the 23rd of July, is a serious moment of reflection for you and all of those involved in your process. To see the handwriting on the wall, that it makes sense not to be counted on the wrong side of history, but it is important to keep a good name. Recall that you are one of those who has pointed out so loud and clear, and you are so disturbed with the name Muna, because you say the name Muna represents a dark moment in the history of the people of the Southern Cameroons. But by the time you go ahead to do what you want to do, to serve as a distraction, recall also that you are leaving children behind who will be bearing the name Bohabed, who will be bearing the name Bo, and who will be known to be your children. What legacy you also want to leave for them? This is a moment of reflection. I think the kind of person I know you are definitely going to have a much deeper reflection. And I'm convinced that you will not want to lag behind. I am still very certain that you would like to stand up and be counted among the people who were able soldiers of the restoration of the independence of the people of the Southern Cameroons all the way to Boya. I think this is a moment for us to be coming together. This is a moment for us to be living up to the challenges that await us. It is true that this is the second time it is happening, that while we're all concentrated to see how to overcome the challenges of the boycott of the celebration of 20th May activities on our territory, you came up with this issue of elections. And again, this time, when we are all concentrating to think of how to handle the September challenge and even other pressing challenges before us, here again you are with this issue of elections. It may be a coincidence, but it's also not so good as a coincidence. And I am convinced that you'll be able to draw from this all and to come to the table. Like I pointed out a while ago, our Commander-in-Chief has his hands open. The Governing Council is open. And I believe that everyone who is involved would like to see a situation where we all begin to unite, where our differences rather bring us together instead of separating us. God is with us.